Hey there guys, welcome to episode 2 of Weapons of Mordhau. This week's topic is the spear and short spear. Now, to be quite honest, out of all the weapons options available in Mordhau, these two seemed like they would be the most boring to discuss. However, after a bit of research, I realized there was quite a bit to be said about the simple spear. Other than an old-fashioned tree limb for beating, a wood stick with a pointy bit at one end is the simplest weapon and one of the earliest moderately effective weapons humans have ever used. To begin with, the first use of the spear was almost certainly not by humans, but by other hominids. Some may have been our ancestors. Based on evidence found in the fossil record, Homo heidelbergensis was the first species found to have utilized spears as a weapon technology, about 500,000 years ago. There is a lot of other evidence to suggest that Neanderthals had been using the technology since about 250,000 years ago, which predates the anatomically modern human being. With that said, the spear is more than just a simple weapon. It was a major part of the cultural technologies that were passed down and that led to the society that we know today. The first spears were simple wooden shafts with a pointed tip carved, usually by stone. As the user of this weapon may note, it is not ideal as the tip is pliable if you make it from a fresh piece of wood. However, the first major change to spear technology would have been the hardening of this tip with a flame, or more obviously, with the addition of a spear tip, such as that made of flint, stone, or iron. In modern times, a spear may have a carbon fiber shaft or other composite material with an extremely high-quality steel head. A major advancement in terms of the durability and performance over a hardened wooden spear with an iron tip from a few centuries ago. The spear and short spear are typically medium to long-range melee weapons. With that said, the range of the spear is not simply limited to the distance at which you can thrust it. You can also throw the spear, and with proper aim, it can prove to be a deadly weapon from about 5 to 15 meters, depending on the strength of the thrower and the attributes of the weapon being thrown. The ranged effectiveness of the spear, however, can be greatly increased. This is because of a device known as the atlatl. This is a small handheld device in which you place a spear. It in turn gives you better leverage and allows you to apply more force as you throw the spear, greatly improving the range effectiveness of the weapon. In Mordhau, both of the spears are wooden-shafted weapons with a pointed steel tip. The short spear is about 3 to 5 feet in length, while the long spear is about 5 to 7 feet in length. Both weapons are ideal for stabbing your enemy and have decent times in terms of stab speed and damage, but lack severely in terms of slashing speed and damage. The range of the spear is perhaps its greatest and only utility. Due to its low swing speed compared to most other weapons, if you are forced to fight in close range, you will most certainly die against an experienced opponent. The two spears behave nearly identically, with the range being the primary difference between the two weapons. The short spear can be used with a shield and costs significantly less points than the long spear. When using the long spear, use the longest range melee weapon the way it's intended, at range. The primary method of attack with either of the spears should be aiming stabs for the head. However, throwing in a slash morph can land lots of hits. If you're decent, you can land those drags with the long spear slashes. The alternate mode for the long spear is slightly better in terms of attack speed, but should be used primarily in close quarters. The short spear is much more versatile than the long spear because of the fact that it can be used with a shield, and it can also be thrown. It can be used like a long spear for your typical stabby, but using it with a spear and sneaking in a throw can make you feel like a Roman badass, and then you can take your spear out of the dead enemy's head. This spear is more suited for a slightly closer range than the long spear, and as mentioned, when an enemy retreats, take advantage of its long-range capability and nail them in the back of the head with a throw. The long spear is very limited in terms of attacking options. It's mostly useful at range, and its alternate attack is very useful in close quarters combat situations. For at least two reasons, the long spear receives a score of 3 out of 5 stars in terms of general utility. The short spear has much more potential in terms of attacking options compared to that of the long spear. This is because one can equip a number of different shields to use with the spear, as well as throw the weapon if needed. This will result in the short spear receiving a 4 out of 5 star rating in terms of general utility. Now, how do these weapons fare in terms of dueling effectiveness? The long spear is not best suited for close-range battles, nor is it suited for swiping attacks. Its greatest utility is being able to stab at a distance, but this requires a bit of precision, thus making it difficult to land hits on squirrely targets. If you are able to constantly keep your enemy at a distance, you stand a decent chance in a duel, but if the enemy closes the distance, you are most likely done for. For this reason, the spear is one of the worst weapons in any duel, especially if you are using the primary attack method on the spear. This, combined with its low damage output compared to other weapons, results in it receiving a 3 out of 5 rating in this category. Its redemption in the terms of dueling effectiveness stems from the fact that switching to its alternate mode greatly increases its usability in close-range combat. The short spear suffers from nearly identical cons as the long spear. However, it can attack quicker, and because one can equip a shield and throw the weapon, it can easily catch an enemy off guard in a duel, giving you the upper hand. Therefore, the short spear will receive a 4 out of 5 rating in dueling. In terms of team play, both of these weapons make a comeback. The long spear is ideal for team play as it has the longest stabbing distance in the game. Just like the other pole weapons, if you are using the long spear, you should stay behind your teammates, stabbing around enemies when in compromising situations. Because of its greater support role, the long spear will receive a 4 out of 5 star rating in terms of team play. The short spear, when used with a shield, is an extremely devastating team play weapon. One can be on the front lines with this weapon, constantly stabbing unsuspecting enemies while fighting with your teammates. Being protected by your shield and nailing enemies with the throw at a distance is a great and very effective method to use with the short spear. For these reasons, the short spear will also receive a 4 out of 5 star rating in terms of team play. This week's random category is trolliness. That is, how do these weapons allow you to troll the fuck out of unsuspecting noobs? The rating for both of these weapons in this category will clearly be 5 out of 5. The long spear is designed for some asshole to constantly stab you when you're practicing with a longsword, and you can't even retaliate because they're lightweight and keep running circles around you every time you try to strike them. The short spearman, on the other hand, will sit there and stab you repeatedly, tossing the weapon into the back of your head when you think you've finally gotten a break. The conclusion of this week's ranking is 12 out of 20 stars for the long spear and 16 out of 20 stars for the short spear. Without the addition of our troll category, these weapons would have fared much worse. Mordhau is a game heavily focused on skill-based combat, and because of the limitations of these weapons, even the most skillful users nearly always lose out against the skilled users of most other weapons. These weapons shine in terms of team play, and for me the best niche for them is as a supportive team play weapon. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Every new contributor to this channel is highly appreciated, and it helps motivate me to make more content. I plan on keeping the series going for a while, so go ahead and comment below for the weapon you want to see in next week's video. Since the random category isn't very random if I choose it, I would also like you guys to throw some suggestions in the comment for next week's random category. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe this video for more content.